Hi again. I want to get this car backed out without running into anything, so I gotta just pay a little bit of attention here to backing out of the parking lot after getting my ingredients for our white bean soup, which I did. So I'm doing great here. Okay, we are going to talk about naming. And why is this so important? Well, I don't know. I kind of gave up a long time ago trying to figure out my motivations and what drives me crazy and what things are important and not important to me. I used to really stress over, why do I think this way? Why am I that way? And you know what, at my age, I don't really care anymore. It just is the way it is. And for me, when I start a new project, and I've got projects going all the time, there's always something new going on. I mean, my biggest problem, to be quite honest with you, is figuring out what projects not to do, not which projects that we want to do. So, and this recording studio project is a big deal to me. It's been on my mind for decades. I mean, as far back as the early 1970s, when I almost opened a studio with Giorgio Moroder of Daft Punk fame. Yeah, Giorgio Moroder was the guy who actually pretty much coined the term disco. Found Donna Summer. Giorgio's my hero. And many years ago, when Terry and I, my wife, first met, was in Munich, I had developed this relationship with Giorgio, and he was making these German knockoffs of cover songs, like Sugar Sugar, by the Archies, and his group would sing it in German, and he had this great studio called Musicland in the basement of the Arabella House in Munich. And Giorgio was just at that time, had just met Donna Summer, who would later go on to become a big deal, and he was going to produce her and record her. And this was before disco. I mean, he kind of got all that going. So Giorgio is quite the guy. And he and I were together because of our love of synthesizers, which is a whole nother story. I talk about it in my book, 99% True. And we can, anyway, as I ramble on about this or that, we can talk about it. But Giorgio was getting tired of making these knockoffs for his living. And so he made a deal with Terry and I that he would build another recording studio in wherever we wanted in Munich. He and his buddy Pete Bellotti would fund the whole thing, and Terry and I would, after I got out of the Army, would make our living recording these knockoff tracks of cover songs for the German market, allowing Giorgio to go out and do what he really wanted to do, which was to make great music, which he went on and did. I, however, got to the point of leasing the place, getting ready to build the studio, and I made a few mistakes with the Army. I got angry. I threatened to burn down the AFN network because, well, anyway, it's all in the book. I got thrown out of Europe, and it never worked out. But so ever since then, I've desperately wanted to do a recording studio, and now I can, and now I will. And as I explained in the last one, this is going to be our opportunity to build something great that will not only help musicians and help the music industry in our little way of crafting really quality, high-end audio recordings with great fidelity and providing a way to make a living for musicians. But I think this may be the start of something new. And even if it isn't, I don't care, because we're going to do this. We're going to try and make one a month if we can. It'll just be fun as hell. So we've got to have a name. And I started this riff by saying I don't understand in myself why I kind of have to have something, a picture in my head, something to call it, dog studio, whatever. I got to have something, because once I have something in my head, it just helps me focus on it and move it forward. So, got to have a name. We've gone through, Jim Heekin, our marketing director, and I have been, and Terry, we've been through a ton of names. Whole Milk Studios, Redemption, because, redeeming ourselves for all the faux pas and missteps in the recording industry. Oh God, I mean, I've got a list of 20 or 30, 40 names, that from the crazy to the technical to, analog stream recordings. And I don't want to call it PS Audio. I don't want to name it after the company that's supporting it. Not at all. I want to have something that expresses from the heart. So I talked in the last video of my friend Dan Schwartz, who is an audiophile, one of the great musicians, one of the great bass players in the world. And Dan's been helping us, kind of guiding us along on this journey of building a studio. And Dan said, stop thinking about a name that represents what you're doing and think about art. Just focus on the art. What motivates you about music? What is it about music that moves your soul? And think about that, and then maybe a name will come from that. And I've been struggling with that. I have truly been struggling, because I can think of art, but I'm an engineer at heart, and it's really hard for me to just turn off the logical Paul McGowan brain and just think about art. So I thought for a while, what is it about music that really touches me? And I think the best I don't know the answer to that. I know when I listen to some things, like I'm a particular opera fan. I love opera. I love all kinds. I love rock and roll. I love classical. But I particularly am touched by opera. And some arias in opera just tear at my soul. It brings tears to my eyes. I don't know why. It's like a language. It's like an unspoken language that reaches beyond all Paul's bullshit and all his stuff and goes right deep inside. The same thing happens when rock and roll can do that to me. It doesn't bring tears to my eyes unless it's a ballad. But I was just recently listening to one of my favorite bands, Blind Pilot. I love Blind Pilot. Their first album, amazing. And when they are singing, and they do this a little bit of a tease. Music is all about tension and release. I can't sing, but they do this. Sorry, I said I can't sing, but discord and release, right? Tension, release, tension, release. And Blind Pilot knows how to do that really well. And so when those things happen, with things like that resonate with me, it touches me in a way that nothing else in the world does. I mean, it's just, I don't know. So it's a language, And Dan's trying to get me to think like that and express myself. What is it about music that I adore? And it's how it touches my soul. The language that it uses, that at some level communicates with me. And so I've gotten that far, but no name comes out. Touch my soul label, soul music. Of course, that has a different connotation, right? I don't know. I'm just telling you that this is the process I'm going through. People that are helping me, trying to come up with something. And it could be a name that is completely unrelated to art and emotions, because I don't really understand what art is. I mean, I can't put my finger on art, and I guess it's not like a circuit. It's not like something that I can craft like a circuit. Art is from deep down inside, like music is. So I don't know how to find this thing, but I'm going to keep working on it. So that's probably enough for today. If you're in the comment section, start firing away. Help me figure out a name for this label, because it's important. It to me anyway. It might wind up being Bluebird Records, right? What does that have to do with anything? I don't know. My son Lon says it should be edgy and catchy and kitschy. He's probably right. I'm just not very good at this kind of stuff. Anyway, that's enough. We'll talk more about naming in the studio as time goes on. I really appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.